lottery because of the fact that the guard tandem is set, so he doesn't have to jump in and start at the point. But I know Doc likes a lot about him, and the first thing you look at is the length, because we've got a guy who maybe didn't get a chance to show what he could do at Kentucky because there were so many different options, but he's got the size to give you a lot of different things from a point guard perspective.
Yeah, and if he's ready, he's going to have his moments, because Sam Cassell being there as a developmental guy with this kid, he's going to really help him, develop on the fly and get him out there, get him some time, get some minutes under his belt. And let's just talk about the battle with him and Patrick Beverly night in and night out in practice. He's going to have him seasoned and prepared to play with the physicality of the game at that position.
We've had a lot of talk, obviously, over the years, Coach, about guys from Kentucky and the one and done and all of that. We'll save that for another show. But most of them seem to find success. Does it help, in your opinion, when you had players that came up to your club kind of as rookies to have played at least in big games, under the microscope, had at least a little bit of that spotlight environment before they try and kind of face what the NBA has to offer them?
Without question. I can remember the one team had 3 of the guys had played 4 years in college, and that was the year we kept 4 rookies on the team. 3 out of the 4 rookies started for the team in Cleveland, and they wound up winning 47 games and making the playoffs. So they were a little bit more mature, but I have to tell you a quick funny story. We're going into the playoffs, and I'm meeting with the rookies, and one of them says, "Listen, Coach, you don't have to worry. We've been through a lot of big games, the 4 of us." Oh, okay. So we play Indiana the first night. They must have beat us by 80, it seemed like, that night. And we got in the locker room the next morning. I said, "Hey, you big-time guys, boy, this is something new here at the NBA playoffs." So they think that they've had a lot of experience until they get into the NBA and find out what it's all about. But it does help, like you said.
Right at the back end of the lottery last year, guys, obviously a lot of talk about, over the course of the last few months, Donovan Mitchell. How did teams miss out on him? Jerome Robinson is hoping to be that guy. He's a guy, when you talk to people around the draft, Karan, at a BC, they love his potential, but his name didn't seem to be as big. Is that maybe a help for him, in a way, to kind of go under the radar a little bit and to learn at this level?
Yeah, I think so, because you can come in and take a lot of people by surprise, when you fly under the radar like that. You get a chance to develop your skill set on the fly, get that much poise, opportunity, those times to correct and make errors on the fly. But also, you're going to, catch a lot of people sleeping. And that's what happens. You're not going to be on the scout report for a lot of people. You're not a household name necessarily right now. But if you continue to thrive in that system, which Doc Rivers is going to put these guys, young guys, in position to play 10 to 12 minutes a night, look, you can shock a lot of people.
I was going to say, because of the rotation, and as Karan mentions, look, where the team is going to be, they're not going to win the Western Conference. They're going to be in position where you're going to get the young kids some minutes, Coach. How valuable is that experience, even if, to your point with your rookies and your story, maybe it's not the most positive experience all the time on the floor?
I think we have to remember Doc Rivers was supposed to be a first-round pick, dropped to the second round, very disappointed, came in trying to make a point. Then he did not start until midway during the season. Eventually, he moved into the starting point guard position. He did it himself, so therefore, why would he not give another youngster who he feels has the ability to help on the team, whether that's a piece of the steady rotation or eventually moving into the starting lineup? You're playing for a coach who did it himself.
While we're actually talking during this segment, Lou Williams has put up 25 points somewhere. I don't even know if they're playing. Last year, there were a lot of people saying, hey, look, that guy deserves to be an all-star. It was that kind of season for Lou Will. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Lou Williams on the work. Williams in rhythm. Oh, beautiful. Williams has started to heat up. Got it. Lou Williams all the way to the goal. Lou Williams shoots for the win.
What can you say about Lou Will, except, let me tell you something, he was pretty decent last year. Some of the biggest games we saw all season long, Karan, from Lou Will offensively. So much for just being a sixth man. He was the man during that stretch after Blake Griffin was traded.
Absolutely. The leading scorer on this ball club, somebody that was very, very efficient, night in, night out, consistently just brought the numbers every game. I mean, he was amazing to watch. Could have easily been an all-star, and that's in the Western Conference.
Coach, it's amazing because on the other side, everybody knows he's going to shoot when he gets the ball. They know he's going to try and score, yet he still is putting up 20, 30, 40-point nights during the course of the year.
I think it had to do wonders for his mentality that he knew that now with the trade taking place where Blake Griffin had been moved on, that I'm the guy now. And Doc is coming to me. They have to give me this many touches for them to have a chance to win. And I think he played with a completely different mentality and approach to the game. And as a result, he was sensational.
Yeah, I'll use a baseball term. We talk about the green light for somebody stealing a base. How much as a coach do you have to kind of give Lou the green light to let him do his thing? Well, because it's going to take some shots you're not exactly going to be happy with. Fair?
I think Karan can talk to the fact that as a player, you play so much better when you know your coaching staff believes in you and they allow you to do the things that you can accomplish on the floor. There may be times that you sit down and say, maybe we tinker with this a little bit or don't try that too much. But when you have that green light, you play at a different level.
You really do. Like, it's an amazing amount of freedom and confidence that come with that green light. Lime green light, you know, like when you're in a situation and when you get the ball, the team kind of just play off your strengths and necessarily also your weaknesses. So that's exactly what Lou has with this team. And he can just go. He has the freedom. You know, he has creative freedom at all times that he can be one-on-one with anybody and take advantage of his talent, of the talents of the other team.
The good news is you also offset the balance because the two guys in the starting backcourt both can defend the heck out of the basketball, which helps. Let's start with Patrick Beverley. Just from an extension of what you're trying to do as a coach for Doc, how great is it for him to have Beverley back on the floor with the way he creates that attitude?
Well, he gets that bulldog back out there, and he's got another bulldog alongside him in Avery Bradley. But those two guys will set the tone defensively by going after and guarding the basketball. And I'm kind of anxious to see how he comes out because he loves to play the game so much that him having to miss that much time last season, I can't imagine what was going through his head watching the things that were happening and knowing that he could not contribute. But they're back this year with a fresh start, and hopefully he comes out of the gates quickly.
Yeah, it's weird because you think about National League conversation about basketball, Karan. It's almost like some people have forgotten about how great Avery Bradley was becoming when he left Boston, both in Detroit and here thus far in L.A. Do you see a rejuvenated season from Bradley this year?
Yes, absolutely. He's going to be a guy that's going to come in. He fits the system of what Doc is trying to do. He did the same thing in Boston. He's going to do the same thing necessarily here with the Clippers. He's going to have a chance to be creative. And, you know, with guys like Bradley and, you know, having them in the backcourt, they take on the identity of these guys. So Beverley and Bradley are like, they're paramount to this ball club, you know, defensively because that's their disposition night in and night out. That's what they're great at, but offensively as well.
When you don't have big stars, strength in numbers, obviously a factor. Let's look at the depth chart and see kind of where the Clippers are coming into this season. And Coach Gallo, staying healthy and being effective always seems to be an important factor. Is this the year we finally get it consistently from him in this uniform?
You said it. Can you trust this guy to give you X number of games during the course of the season? Because when he's healthy, he gives you range on the jump shot, another three-point shooter, another guy who can put up 16, 18 points a game on a regular basis, gives you a little more size depending on where you're going to play him. But he's always injured, and that's the one thing that you keep coming back to with him.
What does he do for the rest of the guys on the floor, too, because of the attention that you have to pay to him defensively because he can score the basketball court?
Yeah, he's a proven scorer. You know, he's a perennial guy that can go out there and score double figures. But like Coach just said, he has to be available. You know, available is king, you know, in the association, you know, and being consistent in that space. If he's available, he's a threat. He opened up a lot of space, a lot of real estate for other guys to be a better version of themselves.
You know, one of the guys who we didn't pay enough attention to his growth last year was Teodosic, who I know Doc really was in love with. They have so many guys in this rotation in terms of guards and forwards. Be interesting to see who he kind of deploys. You've got Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously the younger kid there, Robinson as well. But Teodosic was a guy who played well in his minutes last year, Coach.
Yeah, I wondered if he was going to come back or not this season because of just what he went through in that year of the NBA after being such a star over in Europe as he had been for so long. But you now have such a great complement and diversity from these players that can all play backcourt positions. You have guys that can really see the floor. If you want to run, they'll pass, they'll find open people. You have guys who can shoot the ball and shoot it with distance. You have defensive guys. He might have different sets that do different things as he's substituting in and out during the course of the game. You have guards with size, a lot of size back there. Kind of interesting for Doc.
Speaking of size, who are we kidding? You got Boban. Let's not forget, we love you, Boban. We've got more coming up on the other side. The starters will weigh in. Can the Clippers actually be better this year in the West than they were a year ago? True or not so much? We'll debate when we come back with the starters' help.
This is not preseason. This is the pre-season.
This
I'm
has
so excited.
nothing to do with the season.
This is like the best training you can get for season.
Your
I'm telling
dancing
you.
moves help you for the basketball. Do you know that?
How?
You can do like, this guy doesn't know where you can go. You can get your spin move. You can like make pump fake, like with the shoot, and shoot after that.
You gotta be kidding me.
All right, I'm just gonna show you what we're gonna do, all right? It's a little bit of this and this and this and this and hit and hit and hit.
I lost you guys.
So 5, 6, 7, 8, go 1 and 2 and okay. Now, knees in, back. Okay, knees in, there we go. Now you're switching the weight.
You laughing over there, but why aren't you
End, give me
dancing?
end.
You was laughing at me before, huh? I won't say you laughing no more. Don't say I'm laughing no
You
more.
got the first move. You
Who's
got
running the
second
class
move.
now?
Although I think Yoki.
What's this here? We talking about the hotness. All around the world, they be talking about the hotness. Even on TV, they be talking about the hotness. Pack of Cadillacs, they be talking about the hotness. What's this here? We talking about the hotness. I got your plaques, they be talking about the hotness. What's this here? We talking about the hotness.
The NBA's version of The Odd Couple? What do you think? You can dance like that, right?
Dancing
Right, Tough
with the
Juice?
stars in
Ish.
both of their near futures.
Speaking of stars, maybe the new edition of the Jungle Book. As Mowgli, you've got Gallo hanging out during the course of the offseason. The starters are down the hall hanging out, telling you whether or not the Clips can be better next year than they were this past one.
Zara, will you do that?
Skeets and Lee here from the starters with your next point about the LA Clippers. Lee, true or false? The Clippers will be better than last season.
False. But I think that'll be by design as well, because if you look at the Clippers, they're looking towards next summer when they could potentially have 2 max salary slots available. And a few players have already sort of flirted with the idea of signing with an LA team. Obviously, with LeBron and the Lakers there's not as much salary cap space as the Lakers might have had in previous years. So the Clippers are another one of those destinations. And really, we saw when they let DeAndre Jordan walk, that was the final nail in the Lob City coffin.
Right.
So I think this is going to be a year of rebuilding. They picked up some nice pieces in the draft, particularly Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's going to be a good player. But I think the Clippers don't want to be too good coming into this season. I think they actually want to sort of almost have one of those bad seasons and then do their damage in the off-season.
But they may not be able to be that bad, like you're saying. I mean, they surprised a lot of people going 42-40 last year.
Yeah.
And nearly making the playoffs. Yeah, DeAndre Jordan's gone. Austin Rivers gone. And that's really about it. They signed Ba Mute, some defense there. Mike Scott comes in as a shooter. Gortat they traded for. You said Shea, their rookie point guard. Jerome Robinson even as a rookie.
Let's talk
They got
about
some
him as
problems
well,
there. I mean, I hear you. They may want to be bad, but they've got players there with still, obviously, Lou Williams getting buckets and Patrick Beverly playing defense. There's still some talent there. And Doc Rivers did an unbelievable job with that squad last year. I think he's warranted some sort of Coach of the Year respect and some votes. So I think they may have no choice but to be right in the mix still in the West.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, those veteran guys you talked about, they don't want to tank. They want to go out there and compete.
They don't
but
care. They're not playing for the future or someone else's contract.
I think someone like Lou Williams, though, for example, even though they signed him to that contract late last season, he might be better off on a potential playoff team, and then they can maybe exchange that for a draft pick as well going forward. So they've got a lot more assets going into next summer.
Let's hear from you guys. 42-40 last year, the Clippers. Will they be better this season? Hit us up on Twitter at #TheStarters. We'll hear from you guys.
All right, guys, thank you. Tough question, so we'll take a break and come back and see if we can answer it. Over or under. How many wins for the Clippers this coming season? Don't move.